No? Anything? Are we live? Are we doing it? Yes, we are. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the most interactive wrestling show on the interweb. The show where technical difficulties are abundant, but so are the best and brightest of wrestling takes. Welcome to Wrestling with Omer. This week, we're going to be talking about John Cena's potential WrestleMania plans. We have a bit of an idea of what his schedule is going to look like. We'll get into that, and also who some potential opponents could be. Also going to be talking about a big story that has kind of fallen under the radar, in my opinion, and that is that of Dudley, who is a producer at WWE, was threatened to be fired if he appeared for a very small independent wrestling show. And this edict apparently came from Triple H himself, so the more things change, the more they stay the same, or do they? I don't know. Y'all let me know in the chat, though. Hit that like button if you haven't already done so. It really helps out the algorithm. Helps more people see this video, this podcast, this channel, and it helps my self-esteem as well. So please do me a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe as well if you have not already done so. We keep you up to date on the latest news and notes from the world of professional wrestling. So youtube.com/Real Take Wrestling for all your wrestling related needs. Follow us on Twitter at Real Take W for all your wrestling updates. And yeah, those are my plugs, but hopefully everyone's having a nice day, and you guys know the drill at this point. This is the show where I take questions from you guys. We have a few guiding topics like the Cena and Dudley things that help guide the conversation for the next 30 minutes to an hour, however long this is going to be. And we'll probably lean towards an hour or a bit longer maybe. But basically, you ask a question, you'll definitely get an answer, or somewhat of an answer from me. So I like to be interactive. I like to do that kind of stuff. So please, please, please do not be afraid to ask me a question. Anyway, let's start off with talking about John Cena, because again, we are just learning some new details about what his thing is going to be and what's going on. So Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer, I messed that up already. Dave Meltzer from the Wrestling Observer newsletter reported that the belief within WWE is that Cena will be in action at WrestleMania, and he will be able to also complete his movie prior to WrestleMania. So right now, Cena is scheduled to film some sort of like a rated R comedy with Zac Efron in February and March. And the concern there earlier on was that maybe he wouldn't be around for a WrestleMania build. And as we found out over the past number of years, you don't necessarily need a build for a match with a guy like John Cena as long as you're competing with the right type of guy. The best two examples of this are from last year. There was zero build for Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins on TV. Cody appeared at WrestleMania as a surprise opponent, and lo and behold, it was one of the biggest matches of the night, and a lot of people already knew that Cody was going to be there, so they tuned in and they watched. You can do a very similar thing here, and honestly, this is more like the Stone Cold situation that they were in last year, because remember, Stone Cold never appeared on Raw, never appeared on SmackDown leading up to WrestleMania 38. He did one thing leading up to the event, like a 60-second, if that, Instagram video or Twitter video, whatever it was, saying that I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I'm gonna be at WrestleMania, and I'm gonna open up a can of whoop ass on Kevin Owens. Hell yeah! They weren't even scheduled to have a match, yet they did. And again, it was a moment of the night because Stone Cold Steve Austin wrestled his first match in however many years. And I'm telling you, you don't need necessarily John Cena to be there to have a big build. We know he's going to be on SmackDown this week, the December 30th episode of SmackDown, where he's scheduled to team with Kevin Owens against Roman and Sami Zayn. Which, by the way, I might just do a live stream reaction of, because that sounds like it's gonna be a fun time. It sounds like whatever Cena may do, this might help set that up. And worst case scenario, we're gonna see, John Cena and Roman Reigns. They're gonna put those two in the ring together, and that's special because We don't have that many times left with Cena. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think wrestling fans, and again, I'm not going to tell you what to do or what not to do as a wrestling fan, but me as a fan, I'm going to take as many opportunities as I possibly can to appreciate guys like John Cena, to appreciate guys like Sting for however long they're still able to do what they're doing. Because the day is going to come where we don't see them. I mean, with Cena, you don't see him at all. This is the first... John Cena, this is his first match since SummerSlam 2021. It's been a year and a half since he's had a match. One match. And before that, his first match, the first match he had before that was, I believe, against The Fiend at Mania 30. God, this is he 36, was it? The 2020, April 2020. So there were large gaps that are already happening. And guys, like, I'm telling you, this next run might be like WrestleMania Goes Hollywood, WrestleMania 39. This might be the last time we see Cena for a very long time because his stardom is only rising right now. We got MGT. We got Liam in the chat. Welcome to both of you. Liam in the chat says, reports suggest that the Universal Championship, or Universal titles, undisputed Universal titles, will be split before WrestleMania. So I had heard this rumor. I'm not sure about the report, but I had heard this rumor. I think I did hear it on Meltzer's show where he talked about, there's talk of them splitting up the titles and Roman keeping the Universal title while the WWE title goes a different way. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. I like the idea of Roman having both titles. I don't like the idea of both titles being this weird influx entity or this weird influx entity where are they the same title? Yes, but no. They're two different belts, but he defends them both at once. No, he should be defending both titles individually because they are two separate title belts. And that would only add to Roman Reigns as a star. But that's not the way WWE's going. I know that there are contractual things going on there that prevent that. And that is what it is. We got Liam in the chat saying, please let me book the Rumble for the WWE title, please. I mean, I wouldn't mind that, honestly. I think that's like one thing that Roman can kind of do. Like the big in they have with that is Roman can say that he wants to be the guy to do everything there is to do in this business. He's won a Rumble. He's main evented Mania multiple times. He's defeated The Undertaker at WrestleMania. He's defeated Brock Lesnar. He finally got that monkey off his back at WrestleMania. What else is there left for someone like Roman Reigns to do? The answer? Compete in the Royal Rumble and defend the WWE Championship successfully in the Royal Rumble. Because you remember last time the WWE title was on the line in a Royal Rumble match, Roman Reigns went into that match as the champion. He didn't leave that match as the champion. So there is a way for them to fit that into the storyline as this is one thing that Roman wants to do to prove once and for all that he is not only the top dog in the yard, as he likes to say. He's not only the head of the table, the tribal chief of the bloodline and the family. He is the head of the table of the entire industry. So there's a way to do that. Now, where it gets murky is what you do after that. Because whether it's Seth Rollins winning the belt, which I know that there's been talk about, and you could argue that he is someone who, over the past year, probably deserves it for the amount of stuff he's done. But at the same time, recently, dude's not been doing a lot of winning. And, I mean, you could very easily do that, but we'll see. MGT in the chat says, that'll be a bad idea for them to give the WWE title to Seth to face Cody at WrestleMania for it. I don't like that either. Like, if you're, first of all, I think running back Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes once again is a mistake. I know they basically built it up when Cody left because that's how they wrote Cody Rhodes off TV, with Seth Rollins doing the beatdown on his injured pec. But he lost 3 times. Seth Rollins right now in that he lost that feud unequivocally, undoubtedly. There is no chance in hell they should be running that feud back. Absolutely zero chance that they should be doing that. Whether or not they do, that's a WWE decision. That's a Triple H creative long-term booking decision that if he does do, I hope that it's not at WrestleMania for the belt, because I honestly think it would be a big waste of the moment for Cody Rhodes. I genuinely think it would be a big waste of the moment, because you want Cody's title win to mean more than him beating a guy that he's already beaten 3 times. You want Cody Rhodes' title win to be against a guy who is not to say Seth Rollins is not a credible world champion right now, but Seth Rollins right now is not a credible world champion. The guy that Cody Rhodes should beat, if you're going to have that match and have him be crowned at WrestleMania, I think it should be Roman Reigns. Because there's too much story. And again, I'm someone who believes that Sami Zayn should also be in the running for taking the belt off of Roman. But if we're talking about stars, if we're talking about story, if we're talking about potential, there is so much potential here with Cody Rhodes coming in. What's his tagline? Wrestling has more than one royal family. And he can say that to Roman, and it'll mean so much more. But it doesn't seem like that's the direction that they're going in. And I think it's foolish. I genuinely think that it is very foolish of WWE to want to just kind of run back this feud that everyone's seen already, that's been played out. That Cody won 3-0. like it's not like Seth Rollins even got like one of those tainted victories. So, we'll see. MGT says, let's be realistic. Sami is not going to dethrone Roman for... Yeah, look, I know he's not going to. But if you ask me what the best storyline right now is, it is Sami Zayn, the underdog, beating Roman Reigns. And it was not intentional. Like, it very well was not intentional for WWE to do that. But it's one of those things where, yeah, sometimes you strike lightning in a bottle. Like, and I'm not trying to compare them, as this is not like a perfect analogy. But go back to 2013 with Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan. He was nowhere near the title picture. He was not supposed to be anywhere near the main event of WrestleMania going into 30. He was supposed to be wrestling Sheamus up until February of that year. And then plans changed, and they had to adapt. I'm not saying it's the exact same thing here, but if you ask me from a storyline perspective, if it makes sense that Sami Zayn, who eventually is going to get turned on by the bloodline, who is going to get beaten down, victimized, brutalized by the bloodline, his brothers, if you don't think that him as an underdog, after everything that they have gone through, with Roman Reigns focusing so much of his attention on Sami Zayn, so much of his facial reactions based off of what Sami Zayn's doing, if you genuinely don't believe that is a good, a viable option and a sensible storyline, I don't know what to tell you. And I'm not saying you're saying that, MGT. I just have spent a lot of time in meaningless discourse online about this. But and I'm not saying it's what they're going to do, but I think it should be an option. Like, for me, there is no other time that Sami Zayn is going to be bigger than this. in WWE. I think you just got to strike while it's hot. Strike iron while it's hot. That's my view on it. We got MGT saying, Liam, did you get that idea from JD from New York? Oh man, poor JD. Not gonna talk about that. Liam in the chat says, not sure who it is, but some guy on TikTok. Good for you, Liam. If that's who it is, all credit for Seth and Cody at the Rumble goes to JD. Yeah, I mean, I'm not taking credit for it if JD is, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, no disrespect to anyone. Liam in the chat says, as much as I'd love Sammy to do it, if Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, and Kevin Owens can't do it, the guy who got beat by Johnny Knoxville won't do it. I mean, we say this, right? We say this, right? A year before Bryan Danielson, a year before Bryan Danielson won the title at WrestleMania 30, like, he was jobbing out to, he's jobbing out, with Team Hell No, and then the year he lost in 18 seconds to Sheamus. It's one of those things, right, where one, that was like a complete comedy match, right? But it's one of those things where I don't think that one thing disqualifies him. Again, wrestling is a story. I'm talking about from a story standpoint. But that's, again, what I believe in. And look, it's okay if people don't see it the same way as me. I just don't like being called names because of it. Not that you guys are doing that. Other people do. By the way, don't call people names because they disagree with your wrestling takes. That's not cool. MGT in the chat says, I don't want when Sammy goes full babyface to go back to his underdog gimmick he was in NXT. Yeah. Okay. MG, I mean, no, I agree with that. I'm just saying, in this story, though, he is kind of the underdog, but there's so much more there. That's what I'm trying to get to, that I don't think that I've represented well. There's just history now. There's so much history and so much storytelling that has been told that can be extended into a feud between him and Roman. That's all I'm trying to say. MGT says, let's stick to what's going to happen, and that's Sammy and Kevin Owens dethroning the Usos. I actually don't even think that's going to be the match. Here's the thing. That makes WWE sense, right? And look, that's fine. If you ask me, the money match while the Usos are still champions, bring out the Logan Paul and Jake Paul. You already have Logan Paul. Jake Paul is the best fighter amongst those two brothers by a country mile. Bring him in. That's a match that you can do, and you can have the Paul brothers win, and it would mean a lot. I like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. That story for me, though, has been told one too many times. 3 too many times, honestly. It is one of those things where even if you ignore their ROH stuff with El Generico and Kevin Steen, right? Ignore all of that. In WWE, those two have fought, made up, 3 or 4 different times. I'm kind of tired of it right now. And it's not like they're expanding on it anymore. They're basically doing the same stuff that they were doing before. And not to say that they're not a good combo or anything like that. It's just, I've seen it too many times. And then if you count the stuff that they did do in Ring of Honor and on the Indies before that, man, it's just, come on. I'm sick and tired of seeing the same 2 guys doing the same damn thing. And then, oh my God, 6 months from now, oh, what is Kevin Owens doing? He just power bombs me. I know. I don't care. I'm so sorry. I don't care. And that's just me. I'm jaded. I'm fully willing to admit that. And if that is someone's cup of tea and that is what they do and they enjoy what that match is going to be, mazel tov. Genuinely, I'm happy for you. I'm going to be bored if that's what it is. I'm going to be happy for Sami Zayn getting a moment, a very small and tokenized moment, and being like, Sami Zayn's WrestleMania moment, Michael. I don't care. Don't care. My thing is, with the best storyline in professional wrestling today, with one of if not the most beloved and over characters in Sami Zayn in wrestling today, go for a home run. That's all I'm saying. MGT says, I'm not going to argue if you feel like that, but they're setting up the bloodline storyline. Oh, no, they are. No. I don't even know. I think at this point, MGT, I'm pretty much arguing with myself and the random bots on Twitter that I've put in my head. None of this is directed towards anyone in the chat. I'm mostly ranting, but I'm just kind of, I'm laying out like what my vision is and then what some of the refutations would be. Anyway, whatever. It's going to be fun, I'm sure, and I'm going to be happy for Sami, but at the same time, I've seen it a million times. So as far as potential opponents for John Cena, there are still rumors that one Mr. Austin Theory could be the guy to face John Cena at WrestleMania, which at this point, I think you would be doing it more so because of you're leaning into the internet discourse of the comparisons of the two. Even though, like, if you ask me, Austin Theory couldn't hold a candle to even prototype John Cena. But that's just me. I do think, though, that there are a few WrestleMania opponents that I would have. The one guy I want to see, and this is going to be a bit left field, right? If they don't have him in the title picture and they don't have him doing, like, random tag team stuff, I want to see John Cena versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. I think it's been long enough for those two. The last time those two had a match, I think, was 2015. It's been long enough where I'd want to see that match again because back then, that was when Seth Rollins was just coming up. He had just won the WWE title, and Cena was kind of still the guy, but he was leaning out of the company at that point. I think that there's a lot there's a lot of story to be told there, and there's a lot in that, and the evolution of where those two have been in that feud. MGT says, that's why I'm not on Twitter. Wrestling Twitter is toxic. It's bad. It is really bad. MGT says, hey, man, the future. You guys remember when Seth Rollins used to call himself that? He's like, yeah, I'm the future. I'm Seth Rollins. I'm the future. It was great. His gear, by the way, in 2014 was like some of the best gear that I've ever seen a wrestler have. Like going from like all black Shield gear to like the gold and white, and like it was great. And then like Moxley did the whole like, yeah, I'm a grungy, I'm gonna wrestle my jeans. And then Roman was like, wait, aren't we still doing the Shield thing? And he did it. He was like, aren't we still doing the Shield thing for like the Shield broke up. That's the thing. The Shield broke up in 2014, right? And Roman didn't like change anything about his gimmick until like August 2020. So it was 6 years of him coming out the Sierra Journal. Burn. Like, what? MGT says the white gear Vince didn't like. Vince didn't like. Well, you guys know the story behind like Vince like crapping his pants while he was wearing all white. That happened in the ring. That was pretty funny. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, Austin Theory would be interesting, I guess. Which is more than I could say that it would have been like 6 months ago. So Austin Theory is doing something. I still think Grayson Waller is a better Austin Theory than Austin Theory. People ask me what the hell I mean by that. At this point, I don't even know what it means, but it annoys people online, so I just keep saying it. But yeah, one match that is rumored that I am really interested in seeing, and probably to a fault, because I've been burned by Lesnar matches before at WrestleMania, like the biggest example of which is Jon Moxley versus Brock Lesnar. I was as excited as you can be for that match, and then it underwhelmed in the biggest possible way. The match that I am most excited for, I think, or the rumored match I should say I'm most excited for, is Gunther They got to me. They finally got to me. It took them like a year, and I finally did it. Wow. Okay. They did it because I've been avoiding saying his name. Like, all right, so I guess we're gonna. No, I'm not gonna accept it. Walter versus Lesnar is my biggest, like, most look forward to match, rumored match, I should say, for WrestleMania. You have a guy who is in the midst of genuinely making the Intercontinental title great again. We were in the midst of a pretty legendary, honestly, Intercontinental title run. The match he had with Ray was awesome. The match he had with Sheamus at Clash at the Castle was awesome. Like, Walter's been going out there and putting on the best performance week in, week out of any wrestler on WWE TV. And to see how he would mesh with Brock Lesnar, who is, you know, the Beast, the Conqueror, all that stuff. That strikes my interest. It genuinely makes me want to, like, see that match. Because what's going to happen? Is Walter going to... Because he can't ragdoll Lesnar. And Lesnar can't necessarily ragdoll Walter either. Like, it's... Although, he did do that to Samoa Joe and Braun Strowman. So, I don't know. We could see Walter get victimized. But if there was ever a moment, right, to have Lesnar lose to somebody new, right? Somebody newer, I should say, in the grand scheme of things. Because by the time he lost to Seth Rollins at Mania, Seth Rollins was already a made guy. By the time he lost to Roman at WrestleMania, Roman Reigns was already a made guy. Like you could argue, like, even him losing to Drew, it didn't have the same effect because nobody saw it. So, looking at it from that perspective, like, I think Walter getting a win over Brock Lesnar, and that match being for the Intercontinental title, would do two things. One, it would make Walter, like, the new beast. Like, that is the guy. Like, that is the next big thing. All that stuff that Lesnar was, he is that and more. And on top of it, it would add importance to the Intercontinental title belt because you would have Brock Lesnar competing for it. MGT says his match with Ricochet. Yes, Walter had an amazing, well, not amazing. It was a good match though. It was a good match with Ricochet. I was a bit underwhelmed by it, not gonna lie, but we'll see. Walter/Gunther, understand names don't matter. It's all about the booking. I know. I picked a side a long time ago on this, and I'm doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down, whatever you want to say, MGT. I know. By the way, guys, if you're just joining us, first of all, welcome. If you haven't already done so, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video or stream or whatever is released. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave a 5-star review. All right. So, I think we've pretty much exhausted the Cena segment at this point. By the way, guys, put your questions in the chat. We'll get to them. Let's go and talk about this Devon Dudley situation, or as TNA almost called him, Devin Dudley. God, that was funny. Like, there was this rumor going around back in the day when the Dudleys signed with TNA that Devon's name was going to be changed to Devin Dudley, which is, like, you know, distinct from Devon Dudley, so WWE couldn't sue them, and I'm just like, what? Devin? Like, he's not Devin, he's Devon. And then they settled on, like, Brother Ray, Brother Devon, Team 3D. I'm like, yeah, that makes more sense. Cool. Anyway, but apparently Devon Dudley almost lost his job with WWE after he tried to appear on a BCW show, that's Battleground Championship Wrestling. They were doing a tribute to the Extreme, an ECW tribute show that a lot of wrestlers are going to be at. And he was scheduled to be on the show. He was advertised for the show. He had gone through the hoops of telling WWE and telling people that he thought were the ones he was supposed to tell that he was going to be there. here's the aggregation from Cultaholic, where it says the WWE Hall of Famer went through John Cone for the industry show as Devon believed he could take outside bookings as he is not in-ring talent, which he is not. The booking was nixed by Bruce Pritchard. You know, I couldn't let him do it. You know. Bruce Pritchard, after the issue went to Triple H, Devon said that he was going to take the booking since he had given his word, at which point Triple H did not give his approval. Devon was then told if he went to the show, he would be fired. So, good amount to talk about here. One, we have the issue of Devon Dudley being kind of told, like, told you can do the show by one party in WWE, and then when another party hears about it, told, no, you can't, and if you do, you're fired. Like, it is, I understand, right? I totally get the idea of not wanting your talent to appear as WWE's blank, and getting and whatever, right? Without getting a profit share. I understand that. At the same time, it's an ECW tribute show, and it's not like Devon Dudley was going to get hurt here because he wasn't even. Devon Dudley was not supposed to compete at this event. Devon Dudley was not supposed to be involved in any spot at this event. His sole purpose for this event was to stand in the ring and be Devon Dudley, and at one point just go get a table. Outside of that, he was not going to do anything else. So, in the report, it also said that WWE was concerned that he was going to get injured and all that jazz, and I'm just like, no, don't buy that. That's not a reason. If they simply said that the reason was that they don't want Devon Dudley while he's employed in WWE to help this indie company gain name recognition off of their work or whatever and blah, 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 intellectual property, blah, 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 blah. Okay. That's in the contract. That's well within your right. But it's honestly a bit disingenuous if that's what they told Devon, that, hey, we're afraid you're going to get hurt. And he was like, I'm not doing a spot. Like, I'm literally grabbing a table. If that's what it was, then it's disingenuous and BS, and we all know it is. But I don't know. Like, it's one of those things where I respect Devon for still wanting to do it because he gave his word, and you could argue that WWE, like, whether or not they should have or should not, like, that honestly doesn't really matter. Could they have just let him do the show, though? Sure. It's not like he was going to get paid for it. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. I think he just wanted to have a reunion show with his friends. That's all it is. It's an old work reunion. But, hey, they said no. Is what it is. I just didn't buy the whole, you're going to get hurt. Like, come on. Dean is in the chat. Welcome, Dean. Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. Merry belated Christmas to everyone out there. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah to all those celebrating as well. And on top of that, happy Kwanzaa. And finally, happy Boxing Day to all the Canadian people out there. MGT in the chat says, I don't blame WWE and Triple H for not letting Devon go to the indie event because it could have been dangerous for him, because he could get surgery or something. Yeah, I mean that's fair. No. See, that's not fair. Not saying you're not fair, but again, I think that if the excuse was like he's gonna get hurt, I don't buy it. If it's just a thing of we don't want you to appear for this indie company because you work for WWE, and we don't want WWE talent on X show, okay. MGT also says, they could have, but it seems like they got cold feet. Yeah, this is like one of those things where they just didn't want him. They just didn't want WWE talent on the show, and that's fine. Tony Khan does the same thing, and I actually take more. I take more. I guess offense, not offense personally, because not my job, but I definitely kind of am less sympathetic. And that's not the right word. I don't like the way that Tony Khan kind of implements his policy sometimes with indie shows, because the main thing I have with it is he doesn't allow any AEW talent to work shows the weekend of WrestleMania, which on one hand I get, because I guess, okay, you don't want AEW talent to seem like they're pigging back off of the bigger company. Okay, sure. But at the same time, he's probably going to be running Supercard of Honor for the second year in a row that weekend in LA. Like, so it's like one of those things of like, so if you're booked on Ring of Honor, you can do it, and you're not pigging back off a WWE show. But if you work like what? Come on. But I just think like, if talent have, first of all, everyone's an independent contractor. So my first thing is just, if you're an independent contractor, as long as you are fulfilling the contract you have with your company, my G, go wrestle where you want to. Like, it's also the GCW thing, because Tony didn't want Moxley wrestling in GCW and blah, 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 which on one hand I get, but on the other hand I'm like, okay, you don't want any talent wrestling in GCW, which is like the third biggest company now, and I just think it's one of those things that's not great for business, in my opinion. And not good for wrestling. I think there should be more crossover. As much crossover as we can have would be best. But that is what it is. Yeah. Yeah, so guys, if you haven't already done so, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. We got daily videos on pro wrestling and all that jazz. One second. All right. Well, okay, I guess never mind, because I can't find them. Anyway, but we got MGT in the chat saying, even though you don't like Austin Theory, you got to give the kid credit. He busts his ass every single week, putting on great quality matches. Oh, okay. This is okay. This is the point I want to make clear, because I do think that sometimes, understandably, these two things can get mixed up. When I criticize the booking of a talent and things like that, I ridicule people for being overrated. That doesn't mean that they're completely talentless hacks. Austin Theory is a good wrestler. And he does bust his butt, and he's gotten better. He has gotten better. Like, I want to be abundantly clear about that. And if it feels like I rag on him too much, I'm sorry. It's just one of those things where I'm trying to balance out the amount of what I believe is undue, the amount of undue kind of just overhyping that his booking gets sometimes, because he didn't really have a steady build into anything. And it's not like he was blowing people out of the water with his promos or even his matches. Like, his matches have been good, but they haven't been great. He hasn't had those spectacular moments that you're looking for from a star. But he's gotten better. And look, bearded, I'm serious Austin Theory is good. Like I think this is good. I still think it was the wrong decision for him to lose the Money in the Bank for the United States title. If they had him lose for the WWE title, but still had him try, and they could have accomplished the exact same thing, but made it way better and way more believable. Because honestly, no one can beat Roman Reigns. Like, that's the story that they've told for the past 3 years. No one can beat Roman Reigns. And Austin Theory cashing in on a prone, vulnerable Roman Reigns and still losing would not have hurt Austin Theory if they had done the exact same thing afterwards, what they're doing now. It would have actually elevated him, because this guy has the guts to go do that, to go try that. And if he had gotten close, it would have been cool. MGT said, but that's not what they did. They had him jobbed him out for the United States title, for a mid-card belt. Come on. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It's absolutely that booking was absolutely preposterous. That being said, over the past number of weeks, I've noticed improvement in Austin Theory. I like the gimmick that they're working with now. Triple H is making it work right now. The only thing is they just should have made it work better. And that's the one issue that I've always had with WWE. Recently that I've had with WWE over the past 5 or so years. There is so much, man. There is so much in that company that could be better. Like it's one of those things where the bar over the past number of years has been like just put so low that even if they like, you know, like one of those things where it registers on the scale a little bit, you're like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever. It's so great. The bar for that company sometimes is so low that it's unwatchable. And moments like him cashing in on the U.S. title and losing in the way that he did, it's just like, well, what are we doing here? We got Colton in the chat. This is Scott Colton. This is Colt Cabana. Hey, Colt Cabana, how you doing? No. Hi, Colton. Good to see you. If you have a question, please put it in the chat. MGT says, having him lose the briefcase that way was a botch by Triple H. I mean, yeah, it was. And honestly, like, it's weird how there was a lot of hype around Triple H when he came in as the head of creative in WWE. But I think about, what are we now, 6 months in? 6 months later, I can't help but think that while the quality of WWE's booking and television have gone up drastically, it is still not as good as it should be, which was always a criticism that we had about WWE from the previous regime. And I'm seeing him fall into very similar traps. That Austin Theory cash-in was one. The inconsistent booking of the women's tag team division is another. The absolutely atrocious creative for the SmackDown women's division is another. And I think the lack of attention to things like, honestly, the lack of attention to what's working and what's not with the fans sometimes, it just seems like they're trekking along, and even though sometimes things aren't working. So, like I said this last week, I think adaptation is going to be the biggest test for Triple H. I don't think he's passed that test yet. That's why, in my opinion, he is not promoter of the year, booker of the year. I'm not going to tell you who is, because then it's going to start a whole thing about, oh, you're on someone's payroll. I'm not on anyone's payroll. God, I wish I was on someone's payroll. Someone pay me. But it is what it is. MGT in the chat says, let's talk about how Rampage is dying. Okay, let's talk about Rampage, because I have thoughts. I think that when we talk about Rampage, we need to talk about them we need to talk about it in two separate ways. I think a lot of times people just kind of take the view of wrestling fans, which is 100% correct. We are wrestling fans first, right? And they apply that to, oh, Rampage is getting canceled and AEW is going out of business and look at them failing. Michael, I want to be clear before I say this. Rampage has been not only a missable show, but a show that really doesn't matter. Like, it has been main event, like WWE main, okay, not WWE main event, like the thing, like WWE main event, the show. Like, you guys know that show, WWE main event, that sometimes is on the network? That one. So it has been like that. It's been like Velocity sometimes even, although you could argue it's not that bad, but it's been main event. I think main event's a good thing. That's what I'm trying to say. WWE is main event, or AEW Rampage is main event. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm flustered. I apologize. Because you have matches that don't really build storylines, and even if they do, they're always B-level storylines. They're never, like, you never see something big happen on a Rampage. You haven't seen something big happen on Rampage since the first few months of Rampage. Like, the first 2 episodes, think about that. The first 2 episodes of that show were Christian Cage defeating Kenny Omega for the Impact World title, and then the next week, we saw CM Punk return to pro wrestling. It started off so well. And ever since then, because it's not live, so people kind of just read the spoilers, and two, the time slot is god awful, right? For live TV. If your intention is to watch Rampage live or get people to watch Rampage live at 10 p.m. and have it matter and have it build your storylines, it's a dubious proposition at best, because people have better things to do on Friday at 10 p.m. I'm sorry. It's the truth. Like, people DVR it. I watch Rampage on a tape delay. Like, I watch it the next day. And it's never a bad show. I want to be clear about this. Rampage is not one of those shows where you'll watch it and be like, oh my God, that was such a bad show. It's really impossible for Rampage to be a bad show, because the premise is easy. It's 1 hour of as many matches as you can possibly have in an hour, jam-packed together. Go, 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 action. Which is awesome for the live crowd. And it's cool if you're watching it on a delay, but it's never one of those things where I'm going to go watch Rampage live. The one time, there are exceptions, right? The one time personally for me that I sat down recently and watched Rampage live at 10 p.m. was when they had Shibata and they had Shibata versus Orange Cassidy for the title, because that was Shibata's first match in years, and they also had Mike Tyson on the call, and that was crazy. But that's me. That's I'm a nerd. Of course I'm gonna want to watch that. Here's the thing, though. We say all this, and it's a completely missable show. Nothing's built on that show, and they don't make it feel important. At the same time, I think it's wrong to say that AEW is failing because Rampage has low ratings. I think it's wrong for people to say that, AEW is going to lose their TV deal. Au contraire, mon frère. Rampage being on Friday at 10 p.m. is not a Tony Khan decision. Tony Khan, if he had his way, he's alluded to this many times. He said, he probably wouldn't do 10 p.m. on Fridays. The reason it's on at 10 p.m. on Fridays, and this is critical into understanding the whole thing, is because TBS and TNT, Warner Brothers Discovery, wants it on at 10 p.m. on Fridays, because they know that whether it's 300,000 people watching, 500,000 people watching, whatever, it's going to garner way more viewers. And that time slot is going to mean way more to advertisers than it would be if they put on, a rerun of The Bodyguard or something, right? And that's true. That is 100% true. And if you're Tony Khan and you're trying to appease you're Tony Khan and you're trying to appease your partners, your TV partners, that's what you do. So it doesn't hurt AEW in their negotiation. They're going to get a massive deal because Rampage's numbers are amazing, and that's the flagship. As far as trying to make Rampage mean something more, it's one of those things where you have to weigh it, right? Because on one hand, at the end of the day, if TBS and TNT want it to be on Friday at 10 p.m. and that's their decision, you got to go with that, because they're going to pay you regardless. But if we're talking about from a wrestling standpoint and making it feel important, it's nearly impossible unless you have, even if it's live every week, it's just very hard to do that. It's very hard to attract those numbers. I mean, even SmackDown does good ratings, sure, but SmackDown's also an institution has been so for 20 plus years. People have been watching Friday Night SmackDown at 8 p.m. More or less on Fridays. I mean, it switched around on Thursdays, but it was on Fridays for 10 years, I think, cumulatively. So when you do something for 10 years total, right, and you're used to that routine, and above all, there's actual in canon, right, in quick canon, there's important things that happen on the show. You're gonna want to watch that, and you're going to watch it for years to come if it's still on, and if you're still a fan. With Rampage, it's one of those things where, okay, you have Swerve and his associates do something. Word? And then, no promo? Oh, okay. No MJF? No Hangman Adam Page? I mean, John Moxley sometimes? No Bryan Danielson? Then you don't got the stars. You have the B team. You have a B team. And the one thing I really don't want them to do, I know people have talked about them wanting to do this, I really don't want a brand split for AEW. As far as Rampage and Dynamite, That would be horrendous if Rampage stays on 10 p.m. That would be absolutely like terrible for that show. And whoever's on that brand, like, don't do that. If it's staying on Friday at 10 p.m., I understand the business decision. It is what it is. It's still going to be a missable show for the most part. At the same time, don't do a brand split. Jesus. Like, that is, I've heard that idea float around, and I'm just like, hard disagree on that. Don't do it. You already have Ring of Honor as a separate brand. Let that be your brand split. MGT says, MJF is so part-time that he won't show up on Rampage. Here's the thing. MJF might be the smartest person in pro wrestling because his whole gimmick is that he's a cocky, arrogant guy who wins all his big matches but only wrestles like 4 times a year. And he's made that part of his gimmick. And he only it's smart. It's smart that he's booked himself to be, and I don't mean book himself as far as, he's the one writing AEW creative, but like booked himself as that, like, he created the character of MJF. But it's funny that he's booked himself into being like who he is and just like having a pretty easy ride. Although MJF has worked hard for what he's done, so good for him. Yeah, again, guys, if you're just joining us, we are heading down the home stretch. About 5 or so minutes left on this stream. Hit that like button if you haven't already done so. It really helps out the algorithm, helps the channel grow, and helps more people see this show. Subscribe as well. Hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever any videos are released. Put your last few questions in the chat, and we will get to those. Again, we got about 5 minutes remaining. Last thing I want to talk about with this AEW stuff, right? MGT says, I'm sure MJF signed an extension. Yeah, if I had to guess, right, I would say there's like an 80% chance that before MJF returned at All Out, he signed an extension with AEW. And if I'm them, I would be so hush-hush about that extension and play out this bidding war of 2024 thing throughout the next year. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I think it's a great gimmick. It gets really good heat. It gets a reaction, and it works. So you don't fix something that ain't broke? But I do think he signed an extension. He had to have. We did have an update from the boys over at Grapsity. By the way, guys, if you did not check out Grapsity from Fightful, great podcast. Will, Phil, and Reg. Keep it real all the time. And they did an interview today with Tony Khan that dropped. And in that, they asked him a bunch of great questions. Go check it out after this show. But one of the things they asked was about who Soraya's mystery partner at the January 11th LA Kia Forum show is going to be. And Tony Khan was very... It's so weird how you can kind of tell the direction of things as a wrestling fan, even though you don't like know exactly what's gonna happen. You can tell where things are going. Like, he said so much by saying nothing there that I'm now convinced 99% that it's going to be Mercedes Vernado, aka Sasha Banks, who is going to be her partner. And if that is the case, as far as booking goes, I'm of the opinion that you book that moment to be the last thing on the show. And you build it up. I want them to hype this up. Who is who's Soraya's mystery partner? Who's Soraya's mystery partner? It's going to be someone big. And you can have Soraya the week before, come out at the end of the show and say, my mystery partner is going to be this is a terrible accent. I apologize. But you can say, my mystery partner is going to be someone who's a boss. Allude to that, right? And then just let the internet fester for the next week, and let the WWE people be on their keyboard saying, oh my God, no, it's not going to happen. And then have all the AEW people on their keyboard saying, it's going to happen. Let the internet talk, and then watch them all watch on that January 11th show. It's going to be good. MGT says it seems more and more likely that it's going to be Sasha. I think it's going to be Sasha. Like I said, I'm like 99% sure it's going to be Sasha Banks. If not, it better be like Trish Stratus. I don't even know who you picked. Like I don't know. Maybe Naomi would be if you could have Naomi. I think that would be a good kind of swerve. But at the same time, it's got to be Sasha. MGT says, did you see the great angle of Dominic getting arrested? Yo, big ups to Rey Mysterio for standing up for himself and his family, unlike he did on Thanksgiving. My man said, no, Dominic. No, you're going in timeout. And he put that timeout, T-Mart. Put that kid in timeout. Sent him off to jail. That was really funny. I'm like, I really want them to do this thing like for every like major holiday. Like for New Year's, I want like Dominic to do this like home invasion angle. I want for St. Patrick's Day, make it like St. Patrick's Day theme. Like keep this running. This is amazing. We got MGT saying, I'm sure Naomi is going to return at the Royal Rumble. It's possible, but at the same time, you have to think about what we know from Sasha Banks and Naomi is they kind of decide a lot of these things together, and they have been appearing together a lot. So I think that while there is a chance, because I think her contract kind of got frozen following their departure or their walkout, I should say. While it's possible for her to show up, I also think her contract was like running out anyway. So we'll see. I am of the opinion though that, and this is not an opinion I made because of loyalties or whatever. I have zero loyalties to anybody. I want to make that abundantly clear, even though people want to say whatever. But Sasha Banks and Naomi have almost purposefully appeared together at red carpets, appeared together at meet and greets and C2E2, all this kind of stuff. They seem to want to make sure that people know that whatever they're doing as a team. And I think that if Sasha ends up debuting at New Japan and doing a match in AEW, I think that we are the likelihood of Trinity Fatu, aka Naomi, following her, or not even following her, but being in the same company or the same vicinity of her, I think that is the more likely scenario. Doesn't mean it's impossible. Obviously, she has family in WWE. Like her husband is involved in the bloodline. I understand that. And things could change. I just think that they have made such a point of having those two as a brand. Like those two have kind of like made that thing. Like we are a package type of deal. So, but we'll see. Things could change. That's just my inkling of it. MGT rounds us out in the chat and says, so they can separate in the end. Possible. We'll see, though. Royal Rumble is not that far away. We're just about a month out from the Rumble. We are about 2 weeks out from the Kia Forum show in LA for AEW Dynamite. That's going to be cool. And we're just a week out from January 4th from the Tokyo Dome. Buddy. We're going to see Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. You bet your sweet bippy I'm going to be up to watch that. And on top of that, you're going to see probably the debut of Mercedes Varnado. Sign me up. Let's go. Let's do it. I can't wait. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. MGT, Colton, Dean, Liam, how could I ever forget you, my good friend? Thank you guys so much for joining me. MGT rounds us out by saying, I heard that there were plans for Naomi being in the bloodline before the walkout. I think that's probably true. And that's also again, my guess, that's also could be a reason why she wanted out, because Sasha and Naomi wanted to make the tag titles like a thing. They wanted to establish those titles, but they always had them doing different things. And the focus was shifted away from the title. So they were kind of like, why do we even have those? So that's when they threw him on Laurinaitis' desk. But, guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. Channel's still growing. Go check out all the awesome videos in our archives. I recently put out a vlog just yesterday on Christmas Day. I put out a vlog of me going to Mindy's Bakery in Chicago. For those of you who don't remember, that is the bakery that CM Punk got those infamous all-out muffins at when he went on that absolute tirade at that press conference. I ate that muffin, and let me tell you, it made me feel some type of way. So go check that out in the archives as a special Christmas treat. Yeah. So subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. YouTube.com/Real Take Wrestling for all your wrestling related needs. Follow our new Twitter page at Real Take W. And until next time, everyone, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year. Keep it real.